Hello, and welcome back to the Dad and Buried podcast, or welcome for the first time. It is the first edition of 2021, and because of that, we're going to be talking about resolutions, parenting resolutions, not weight loss resolutions and stuff. With Mama Buried and I think are both sort of kind of doing dry January. Sorry, I forgot to introduce you. My name is Mike, aka Dad and Buried. I'm here with my lovely wife, Heather, aka Mom and Buried.
Thank you, finally. Yes, I mean, I'm going like damp January, maybe dryish.
So
I got through like yesterday,
which was quite an accomplishment. So
yeah.
We want to say, this is Thursday night. We were going to record this as early as Tuesday, and we actually planned to record it yesterday. But you may have noticed that something major kind of went down in this country. We were watching the world burn essentially yesterday, and doing it without drinks.
Yeah, so that was fun. Yeah, we were gonna do this little podcast, but instead we just witnessed like an attempted coup. Also cool.
We watched democracy nearly crumble, and we watched it all with a trusty glass of water. One of my resolutions, aside from dry January, is to drink more water. So far, I think I'm doing a great job of drinking more water.
You are. You pee in abnormal amount. And you're good. See, this is the thing. When it comes to dry January, which I think 95% of people who embarked upon this, like threw that shit out the window about 3 p.m. yesterday.
They definitely
wisely. No idea how I hung on for the day. Especially since my commitment isn't quite to where yours is. But you are also trying to lose weight.
Yes, I'm a fat
I am in impeccable shape, as we know.
You look incredible.
No, I don't need to lose weight. I want to work on, getting stronger and getting back into exercise. But I can totally do that drunk. So I don't know why I'm doing this other than for support.
Well, look, 2020 was a long decade for us to survive. And no shame on anybody, including ourselves, who kind of let some of our standards kind of go out the window. At one point last year, I did dry January. By the time March came around, any progress I had made had disappeared. And a lot of things went out the window, both in the name of self-care, insanity, and survival. Drinking pretty much every single day, staying up too late, our kids getting too much screen time. I, for one, was waking up too late since I don't have to take a commute into the office. I could just be in my PJs.
I haven't seen any change on that the first week of January, by the way.
I was feeling gross. I was tired of waking up, not even necessarily hungover, just feeling gross and a little bit of a malaise, of being stuck in a rut of doing the same shit all the time, which I'm going to happily get back in that rut come February. Oh, yeah. But I want to hit the reset button a little bit in January, which is why I'm doing it. Based on
like the first 5 days of 2021, shit ain't getting that much better anytime soon. I mean, there is some hope on the horizon, but things are still, in a could burn to the ground any second sort of thing. So that's why at best I'm going with damp.
So self-care remains very important in 2021, certainly, and especially for parents who are faced with their kids not necessarily going back to school, but being back in school of some kind. We're still doing a largely remote schooling here, which can be not our favorite thing in the world. It can be pretty tricky, especially when you don't have the promise of a cocktail at the end of that day. But most
places, I think, are either full remote Zoom school or hybrid at this point, since a lot of places are going back into lockdown if they had the kids out, or hybrid, which, then you get to roll play Russian roulette with your lives every day. All of them are fun options and not at all stressful. So, but in an effort to try to revamp after the hell that was 2020, I'm not one of those people that's like 2020 is over, yay, like everything's changed. And clearly, if you've been paying attention,
some things are worse.
Yeah, it's not looking that great. But regardless, for those people wanting to kind of feel a little better about themselves, if only for a month, talking about some parenting resolutions and how we can try to, like, step up our parenting game, or maybe get back on par with our very low bar at the beginning. Whatever it is, for better or worse, if it's even going to happen, because let's be honest.
Well, one of the things that I pride myself on with my Dad and Buried social media empire is lowering the bar for other parents, because I am not good at this, failing all the time, and I'm constantly writing about that and sharing jokes about how bad I am and how horrible my kids are as a result of my horrible parenting. So yeah, obviously,
your
you're
kids
great.
are at least 50% delightful.
Fine, at least 50%.
I think we know where that comes from. You're not all bad.
So we're not focusing on dry January, which in many ways may be a disaster for us personally. We are focusing on parenting resolutions. Who cares how drunk you are or how fat you are, as long as you're not yelling at your kids so much? We'll see. So before we get into that, I do want to remind everybody that you can subscribe and like this podcast on Apple, on Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube if you want, even though hardly anybody does, which is one of the reasons we rarely dress up for these recordings, although you look lovely, Mama Buried. Thank you for putting in some effort as opposed to me. Actually, this is probably the most dressed up I've been in quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, this is like prom gear for you at this point.
It's not a hoodie.
The same one of two hoodies. But
exactly.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little sick of. I mean, at least I changed my tops.
I can't find my Red Sox hoodie.
Travesty. I would love to see a third hoodie be put in the rotation. That's really what I'm asking for here. Not like, look, you have buttons on. Look at you.
I know. Well, it's a Henley, I think this is called. Look, dressing better is not one of the resolutions. So what I did was, I went on Instagram, where a lot of people like to weigh in when I put the topic up there, and I collected basically what everybody's top 5 resolutions, or I didn't ask for top 5 resolutions. I just asked for their parenting resolutions that they're trying to improve on in 2021, and I tallied them. So we're going to run through a list of the top 5, and we're going to run through some random ones because there were some funny random ones, and then we're going to run through a countdown of the top 5 from 5 to 1 and see what everybody's trying to improve this year. Most people did not say they were going to try to do dry January, and like you said, if they had, it was probably gone out the window by yesterday when the Capitol was when the windows were being broken at the Capitol.
I mean, some people pointed out, and to their credit, clearly dry February is the way to go. It's the shortest month, not a leap year.
It's funny.
We'll see where we are then. We could be under like a police state. We don't know. But regardless.
It's funny you should say that, though, because Pete, my other co-host, he does dry like from the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl ends and he goes dry until like spring break in April or something. So he does February, March, and then goes just as long as he's feeling it.
I never liked him.
No, me neither.
I knew there was something. No, he's otherwise delightful. I don't get that because I have to say, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, I definitely think I have SAD, as they call it, or seasonal affective disorder. I 1,000,000% get that, where I get depressed. I mean, as someone with that MS, you already get a vitamin D deficiency. Like, it feels good to drink up the sun. So to just sit in the dark and in the cold of my house, now exclusively, never leaving, basically, doesn't put me in like a good place. This is actually just talking myself into wine as we talk right now.
You also have Sunday affective disorder, where on Sundays you get depressed as well.
Woo,
anyway,
Sunday puts me in a down spiral.
Well, one of the resolutions that many people suggested did have to do with self-care for parents, which is probably part of the reason a lot of people aren't doing dry January. But we're going to get into some of what people said they were trying to do, and then we're going to run through the top 5 right after this. Thanks for listening. All right, we are back, the Dad and Buried podcast with my lovely co-host, Mom and Buried. You can find us both on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Are you on Facebook? Your Facebook account got deleted or something?
No, Facebook shut me out, which was honestly the greatest gift Zuckerberg has ever given me.
I'm still on there. I even have a Facebook group for the podcast, which I post on once every 2 months. Really hard to keep up all these damn channels. Anyway,
I didn't do anything offensive. They just are inept. But
right.
Instagram is really my home, and Twitter is really where I scream into the void. So Instagram, let's go with that.
Well, we also scream into the void here on this podcast. As Pete likes to say, we scream into the pillow, right? So we vent about parenting, all the terrible aspects of it. It's pretty much what I do everywhere, all the time, online and off.
Can vouch.
We're not here to offer advice. We're really just here for solidarity. If we give you some advice and it works, you know what? Throw us a little bit of money on Patreon. A bunch of people do. We appreciate it. Subscribe, give us a review, like on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen.
I feel like, guys, listeners, you really got to step up your subscribe and like game. My kids just started really watching YouTube, and I feel like we're not saying subscribe and like, those ridiculous, stupid
tap that
kids.
Like button. Tap that
exactly.
like button.
Go ahead, tap it. Come on, guys. Throw us a fucking bone and hit like it's going to kill you. Everybody is listening out there, one of your resolutions should be to like and subscribe to my podcast more often. Absolutely.
So appreciate that. So before we get into the parenting resolution, so this is funny. So before the insurrection that happened yesterday in Washington, D.C., the big parenting news of the week was Bean Dad. I don't know if everybody came across Bean Dad, where Bean Dad.
I think a lot of people, especially people who are more in the Instagram, Facebook world, they seem clueless to Bean Dad. I have to say, I did a poll, and they had no idea. And so, do tell about Bean Dad.
Bean Dad is a dude who's a musician, I believe, in the band The Long Winters. They have one song that I like. Never really dove deep into them. I think his name is maybe John Roderick, something like that.
Yes, it's something Roderick.
And he posted that his daughter was hungry. His 4-year-old. What is that? Is that
no, 9. 4 would be worse.
No, she was 9, right? And she said she was hungry, and he said, "Go get yourself some beans," because he was too busy. Some baked beans. Well,
let's just start with the fact she's like, I want a snack, because she'd already had a full breakfast, as he says. And he's like, you know what? Just go get a can of beans, which is the first question I have. But moving on.
So she goes and grabs the beans, but she can't open them without a can opener. So he gives her the can opener, and he says, "Figure it out." And then he recounts how it took her 6 hours to figure it out because it's not super intuitive. These damn kids, they're screwing up everything.
they're coming in. We just throw them a can of beans. That should get rid of them.
We should throw them a can of beans. So he wrote this long story about how he gave her the can opener and the can of beans, and he let her struggle for 6 hours, even though she was supposedly starving. And he was like, how are you going to survive if you can't figure out a can opener? And then at the end, once he finally figured it out, he treated it as a big triumph. And then he wrote
32 tweets in the meantime. Yeah.
And he treated it as a big parenting triumph that his daughter figured it out, and he's a great dad, teaching self-sufficiency and all that stuff. And then the internet jumped down his throat, and they found out a bunch of horrible tweets he had posted in the past. He supposedly said he was joking about all this racist and homophobic and misogynistic stuff and anti-Semitic stuff he put out there. Anyway, that was the big story that we thought we were going to be talking about.
It's like giving a caveman, I don't know, a washing machine. Just absolutely
figure it out,
clueless.
Caveman.
Yeah, just what is this? The kid doesn't know. And actually, what is funny to me, real quick, Mom Transparenting, an account I love, she completely, again, she doesn't know because she's less in the Twitter sphere, was talking about how her electric can opener quit that 2 days later, and she had to figure out her own can opener. She's just hacking at it, just fucking clueless. She's in her 30s, and she's just and I couldn't get the thing, and I'm ripping the can apart, and I'm like, have you heard of Bean Dad?
So we tried with our son. We gave Detective Munch, who is 10, the can opener, and just watching him, it's not intuitive at all. The thing opens and closes. He's trying to put it on the wrong way, and eventually, after 5 minutes, I'm like, fuck this, and I showed him how to do it because that's what you do.
Well, no, I mean, not even that. You showed him a little bit,
nudged him in the right
thing about
direction.
being dad, it's hard to explain in this, but you have to understand that he's just like, look at the parts. He in no way, shape, or form ever tries to tell like, not so much as even where it goes on the can. Like, first just like, this part,
he's like, look at the gears. He's like, look at the gears. How does this work? And he's like, asking her to like inspect the thing and figure it out. Eventually, it took her like 6 hours, and it caused a lot of outrage and people calling it child abuse.
Regardless, I feel like, you could at least throw the kid a bone and maybe like do it once, get her started. I don't know. This is such a rant. You're going to lose everyone over being dad.
It seemed like it was pretty shitty parenting, but that was Parenting in the News, which is a segment I announced we were going to do like 4 months ago.
Parenting in the News, yeah.
We've done one of them, I think. This was our second one. The last one we did was when Joe Montana stopped somebody from kidnapping his granddaughter. That was pretty exciting. He's better than being dad. We can all agree he's better than being dad. One of my resolutions, coincidentally, is to be more like Joe Montana, even though I'm a Dan Marino fan.
Just approves.
Yeah, fake 49ers fan here. Fake 49. We're not going to talk about the NFL because the Dolphins didn't make the playoffs, all right? We are going to talk about the New Year's resolutions. So I asked everybody, what are they going to try to do?
Parenting resolutions.
What are their parenting resolutions? So a lot of people gave some kind of random responses, and then I kind of tallied up the top 5, right? But there were definitely some funny ones. Where people were kind of like, resolutions. We just survived 2020 and we're barely surviving. We barely survived 2020, and 2021 is not off to a great start. Somebody said that there's no chance they're going to try to do resolutions this year. Jess Ann 2783 said 2020 brought enough changes to the house. There's enough upheaval going on. We don't need to rock the boat further by trying to be super parents. Who needs that? The Big Z BIGGSY said once we survive the pandemic, maybe then I'll try to be a better parent. Right now, it is all about survival, and I have absolutely no problem with that.
Can I say just a little bit of a shout out to not only the Big Z, but like to anyone thinking that way? Like, you know what? You probably didn't enter into 2020 being like, you know what I'm going to do this year? Survive a fucking pandemic and homeschool my kids and, not die. These little things. So you have already nailed last year's non-resolutions. Like, they were probably not on your list. So if you want to take a pass this year, cheers to you.
So I agree with that. And SWeld87 says her resolution is to try not to fuck up her kids any more than 2020 already has. We're not going to know for years how traumatized these kids have been by the last year.
We really should be driving right now our children into becoming therapists, because that is going to be like, top climbing job in the future.
That's actually a good
It's going to be in demand.
Yeah, we should force our children to become psychologists and psychiatrists so that they can collect. They can collect when the chickens come home to roost.
Because clearly they already have the upbringing as experts on mental health.
So one person had maybe the best resolution there was not your average Shira, who is actually a great account I follow. If you want to follow kind of a political activist account.
Oh, see, I didn't know about this one. I will have to, but
Shira.
I don't know her account, although I will check it out. But her resolution is top of the list.
Is to continue to not have children. Now, I wrote a tweet years ago in like 2017 or something that was my resolution is to not have any more kids and to try not to have as many kids as I already have. A lot of people got upset about that. Obviously, I don't want to get rid of my kids. I will send them to military school or to grandma's or something like that if possible. They'll still be my kids, obviously. But I was just joking. But definitely one of my resolutions is to not have any more kids. You agree, right, honey?
Sometimes I get the inkling. I am, a woman of a certain age. And, just knowing that the hammer is actually about to turn 5 this week. And mommy is a mess because 5 is like not a baby.
Yeah. He's an adult now.
I think we should probably have a kid this year, actually. Not
okay. You know what? I'm going to hang up and we're going to delete this entire thing. So what's funny is, we have 2 kids. And one of the things we often say to each other is they need more one-on-one time from us, right? We need one-on-one time with each kid, especially because they're together all the time. And They butt
2020
heads.
has been really conducive to all this one-on-one time, taking the kids on special journeys alone with their parents, and
Exactly. And they,
real
you know,
fun.
they get jealous of each other. Detective Munch gets jealous that, you know, we snuggle more with the little kid, and the little kid gets jealous that, you know, Detective Munch gets to stay up later and then watch, you know, adult movies. Like, he really enjoyed Requiem for a Dream when we showed it to him, and the Hammer was like, why can't I watch
Bullshit.
that?
Number
Stephanie,
1, we would never show him that because that movie's trash.
it is
Number
not
2,
trash. It's traumatizing, but it is a great movie.
cool. Number 2, yeah, the Hammer doesn't give a fuck, and he's seen so much more than Munch did at this age.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Munch hadn't even seen like Star Wars at this age. I know for a fact he
Yeah,
had.
yeah,
It was a
yeah.
big decision when he was like,
Well, he was
almost
getting spoiled at
6 to show
school,
it to
so I
him.
had to. He was getting spoiled by schoolmates, so I had to jump in and show it to him when he was like 4. Yeah.
Wasn't he closer to 5? It was more like 5.
He
But
will remember.
regardless, actually, meanwhile, the Hammer half the time just doesn't give a fuck because he just runs
About anything.
in circles and screams. He's the Hammer for a reason, guys, and he lives up to it every day.
So Stephanie _Nicole 20 says that that's one of her resolutions, is to try to spend more time with her kids individually. They are so much nicer when they're alone. And I think we both agree that when we do, like, if you go off with Detective Munch,
Yeah.
you always come back and you're like, oh, we had such great conversation and stuff.
Yeah, especially Detective Munch, because you pull him out of his zone. He actually is one-on-one because, you know, he's such a kid who will, like, he will pick up a book anytime there's silence. It's like his version of adults picking up their phone.
Right.
Like, he will just get in it, or he'll be excited about a video game and not stop talking about it.
Oh my God,
But
never.
if you get him one-on-one somewhere, like, he'll really open up, and that's nice, and we should do it more. I like that one.
Well, Crochet Zombie Designs agrees. She wants to make more effort to do one-on-one activities with each kid. But it's funny that you mentioned reading, because a handful of people said that they want to do more reading to their children. So we definitely lapsed on reading to the Hammer, because he's a second kid, and you just stop caring about parenting so much.
So
but
bad.
C.W. Bullard is the loyal listener. Said he wants to read one big book a month with the kids. So that's something I never really did. I never like read Harry Potter to Detective Munch, like not just leaf through children's books with them, but like read them to sleep with like a real novel. And I'm kind of curious about maybe trying that with the Hammer.
Good luck. He would like it because for a short stretch, Munch was reading books to him, not novels, which was awesome. We should get them back on that because it was just the sweetest thing in the world.
Yeah, that was.
2 things with Munch. I think when like that was starting to happen and my friends were starting to do that, he was a really kind of good reader very quickly.
Yeah.
And, like, then he started reading those things. He's always been more like a grade level ahead. So then he's just doing
nerd.
it. And then we're like, let's just take a fucking break then and not have to read goodnight books anymore. And then I have to say, this is the worst thing because the Hammer is in virtual pre-K, and my favorite part of virtual pre-K is that they always send like books of people on YouTube reading the child a book, which I'm sure is the exact same thing as cuddling up with your mom and having bonding time.
Perfect. That's what amazing parenting in 2021. You don't actually have to do it. I love it.
So don't worry, guys. I've got that checked off. Please,
so it's funny. So you mentioned that Detective Munch reading to the Hammer was nice. So one of the things we are trying to encourage with Detective Munch as a 10-year-old is to be more self-sufficient and to help out a little bit more around the house. And a couple of people, Jurassic _Stark says she wants to have her 3-year-old help with the chores. You getting a 3-year-old help with the chores? She put help in quotations to let us know that she was being ironic. But
I have to say, at 3 and even early 4 was the perfect age for that. In that, if you don't
enjoy it,
actual productivity.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've gotten out like the little mop, like the squirt mop, to clean up quick messes, and the Hammer will go crazy. Like, can I do it? And I'm like, it's not gonna be like great, but
no, they
you
think
probably
it's
get
fun,
some
though.
kind of disgustingness off the floor. Knock yourself out. Go for it, kid.
Yeah, he thinks it's fun to like do something grown up or to do something with mommy.
The 10-year-old, less excited when those
Yeah,
things are
yeah.
given to them. Just like, oh, you want me to dust? I have to do so much. And then I go off into that voice only dogs can hear about how I do so much shit around this house. And oh my God, how dare you?
Well, speaking of you going off, one of a green-eyed lady's parenting resolutions is to swear less, to try not to say fuck, fucking, fuckery, for fuck's sakes, and all things fuck in front of my kids. That is not one of your resolutions. As we've mentioned many times on this podcast, you have no problem swearing in front of the kids, no compunctions at all.
Idea of not swearing is fucking ridiculous, and I have no fucking interest in fucking doing that.
We get it.
Especially in the fucking year going on. That's like one of my favorite things to say. You know what I've noticed?
What?
One of my favorite throwaway swear words is, oh, damn it, fuck it all to hell. Like, just let's get as many as we can into one place.
So, see, this is a form of self-care for you, which brings us to number 5.
It is. It makes me feel good.
On our list. So I asked parents who listen to this or follow me on Instagram what their resolutions were going to be, and then I tabulated them. And there were 5 that were clearly the most popular, and number 5 was self-care, right? So as a parent, they were basically saying they needed to take care of themselves. And I wrote a post about this the other day about mental health and how you need to be able to take care of yourself before you'll be able to take care of other people. It's like when an oxygen bag falls on the plane if it's crashing, and they say you need to use it on yourself before assisting somebody else with it, because you will die if you're trying to help them without helping yourself first.
Okay, let's be honest though. That post was awesome. How
Thanks,
much
honey.
of that do you do for yourself, or I do for myself? You know
Was
what
that
I
a
mean?
question?
Like actually executing upon that, like.
Oh.
Anyway, you certainly are never like, honey, I'll leave the house with the kids. You have a couple hours by yourself, light some candles, have some wine, have a bath. That does not fucking happen.
But I often tell you to leave the house and I'll stay home with the kids.
Yeah. Just go out into the disease-ridden world. Have a fucking anxiety attack. You talk about my anxiety in it because you're a high-risk person. Go nowhere because there's nowhere to go and don't die. It's so relaxing to me.
I'm lazier than you. I'm more of a homebody than you. I'm more comfortable at home.
Yes, but there's nowhere else to go. So of the options, home is the best one. Why don't you guys go just drive in circles and, I don't know, take in the scenery. Take a drive up the coast, like the New England coast.
Come up to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs. You know what?
Yeah. Go do that for a minute.
Maybe that will be your Valentine's Day gift. When me and the kids will go on a road trip. We won't be back for 2 weeks. Good luck with that.
Awesome.
So Shanna.Levin says that she wants to focus on herself more so she doesn't lose her sanity. Chloe_Mara, M-A-R-A, says she's taking more time off work instead of trying to juggle everything at the same time, which was a major fail. Now, I will say one thing that 2020 has kind of brought to the forefront is I can do my job remotely. A lot of us, if we're lucky enough and have the right kind of job, it is possible to do it from home and not have to be in the office all the time.
And distinct chance that's not the situation for Chloe, because for a lot it's not. And in those cases, I would say taking mental health days, that's a freaking lootly. Kudos to you. But yes, you were going to say how like remotely,
you are able to. So I'm lucky that my boss is more concerned with whether I get my work done, not whether I do it from 9 to 5 or whatever, right? So if I need to take a personal day or a half a day or something to kind of get some equilibrium or, decompress, that's possible in a way that maybe it's not as possible if I'm in a cubicle at work, right? At home, if I have to, I can like take a nap in between meetings or whatever, right? So it is possible. And I think balance is very important. And I think a lot of employers are learning how important balance can be, especially during a pandemic. So good for Chloe. You're often encouraging me to, take a day or two here. And God knows Detective Munch is always asking to have a day of cookie from school for his mental health.
Yeah, this is, I guess the flip side of that coin. that I would say is you'll also, Detective Munch is like you're always working. Like he feels like you're always on the computer or you're on, the Instagram account or doing this stuff. I mean,
well, I
MJ
freelance as
does
well on the
wear
side.
a lot
So.
of hats. He does freelance writing on the side. Dude does a lot of work, and thank you for that. Sometimes he's silently like, I don't know.
Raising the roof. I'm raising the roof for myself.
The roof for himself. Okay, settle down. No, but on the other hand, I think, and this is a problem for a lot of the remote work, there'll be times where you're like, oh, I have to do something. It's 8 at night. Or like, we want to do something as a family, and it keeps getting pushed back till like the point you can't do it, or goes into the evening, because it's also too easy to be like, oh, I want to get this done so it's ready for the next day. I mean, it is,
and I have my work.
It sucks.
And I have my work email like in my phone and that kind of stuff. So it can be hard to disconnect sometimes. So I do think that Clomara has the right idea, and that balance is an important part of self-care, work-life balance.
I would say, I have told you that one of my resolutions for you is to be on your phone less. You are very often on your phone looking at it, and you're like, I'm listening. Look, I'm like, I would like human eye contact, please. That's what I would like in 2021.
Look, when I'm making dank memes to try to, continue to grow our social media empire, I gotta be on my phone sometimes. It's just the way it is.
All right.
Anyway.
Unless you're like talking to sponsors, catch me later.
Sponsors, catch me outside. Hook it up. Marty Mart 242 says his self-care is kicking their child out of their bed. I agree. Sometimes co-sleeping can be negative, although when you're mama buried and your youngest kid is about to turn 5, you are all about the co-sleeping. VM Rizzi says,
I don't know. He was in there last night, and he's now huge. Yeah. So I am all about the co-sleeping, but you're going to have to go.
Yeah, I know. That's what happens. Yeah, I go sleep on the couch.
You'll still be there like in 20 years, probably.
VM Rizzi says her self-care is more dumping her kid at the grandparents' house every time they ask for him, right? So me and Pete and I did an entire episode yelling at people who were lucky enough to have family nearby who would volunteer to take the kids and that kind of stuff, because it's check your privilege, people.
I'm about to like just, have a fucking insurrection. Ready to throw shit and start burning things. But just at that idea, because we don't have it at all.
No.
Any semblance of it we used to have are when the grandparents were much younger, and like we could drop them and go for a weekend.
And we only had one kid. Yeah.
If we lived near them for the afternoon, absolutely. Maybe the night we could probably get away with.
Even my brother and his wife has a big family full of sisters and stuff, and they're often able to babysit at the very least, and that's just a luxury we wish we had.
I'm really happy for all of you people, but it's really it's like a trigger thing for me. Triggered.
So Amy the Cab, and I thought this one was interesting. Her self-care is to stop seeing her kids' misbehavior as a failure on her part. Now, I think this is something that all parents, and something I actually have been trying to promote on my social media for a long time and on my blog, is that all kids are assholes to a certain level, right? There's just a baseline of assholeness you're going to have to deal with, and it's not all your fault. The challenge is recognizing, if you have negative parenting habits or negative personal habits or a shitty personality or bad genes. Like earlier tonight, I heard Detective Munch bossing around his little brother and scolding him. And all it made me think of was he learned that from me doing it to him. And it just made me feel like trash. So that is something I recognize in myself, where I do blame myself a little bit for that. But there are a lot of situations where, look, your kid's going to have tantrums. Your kid's going to be a piece of shit sometimes, and it's not always your fault. I wrote a whole blog article years ago when we lived in Raleigh about sometimes 2-year-olds are just assholes. It's just the way it is, right? Stop apologizing for your own parenting and being embarrassed by it, and just be like, he's a fucking toddler. He's a 2-year-old. He's a piece of shit. He doesn't know how to live his life.
As you know, I am very hard on myself for what I see as my own failures. Or my own shortcomings, not failures, but and sometimes it'll be the stupidest shit, such as like, I am in physical pain from my chronic illness, and so I didn't go hiking today with my kids. Although I do want to get into hiking in 2021. Who's with me?
Not me. Have fun. There's that one-on-one time you're looking for with the kids. Go hiking.
Yeah, please. No, I mean, so it's hard not to be hard on yourself sometimes. And I do think that sometimes I feel like the need to course correct, especially like particularly bad habits. But yeah, there's definitely a baseline. And that's what I was going to say when I first read that. I'm like, Dad and Barry does not have a problem in that category. He's like, these kids are assholes. And I'm also a little bit of an asshole. But what are you going to do?
As they get older, I think it gets a little bit harder to blame it on the kid just being a kid. And
Talking
sometimes you need to look in the
mirror. Being too hard on themselves. We missed one on the notes here, which is
oh yeah,
Manoner Camp. I'm not sure how I said that. Manoner Camp would like to cook more. I cook maybe twice a week, and my 12-year-old needs me to do better as she grows up. And I will say, I somewhat like cooking. Like, I like cooking, but I like cooking in like a nice big kitchen, which we do not have in Brooklyn, New York. And I like cooking with like peace and sanity and time.
Which we do not have
with two children.
Which we do not have with 2 children.
No.
There's no peace and sanity.
I want to cook something that's good with like fresh, often expensive ingredients, which we do not have tons of money for. And I want the people that I cook for to eat it, which even Dad and Barry won't 9 times out of 10 because he.
Bullshit.
Oh my God. I have things like artichoke hearts and.
I'll eat artichoke hearts out the ass. I'll eat them nonstop. I'm not eating salmon. How about that?
You have a bit of a list, and it's mostly more of the high-end cuisine. But if I want to take up burger making, I guess I'm solid.
Let's do that. We need to get an air fryer into it.
That's not going to change your life. It just means your chicken nuggets will go in another place.
Yeah, but then I'll get to say we have an air fryer, and people will be like, "Ooh, I'm impressed." I've seen it happen. It happens all the time online.
Oh my God, you're the loser. No, but like here's also, guys. I hope this person takes it a little easy on herself because I used to cook like 4 times a week. I would say we would order out 3 times a week. Now it's still around 3 times a week that we order out, but the other nights we're not having fucking delicacies. Okay. I have more time, quote unquote, during the pandemic than ever before and less fucking interest. Because the rest of the day, you're doing all this bullshit stuff that you probably didn't even sign up for. It is redundant. You are in the world's longest Groundhog Day. And if at the end of Groundhog Day, you want pizza again, eat a fucking pizza. That's my advice for 2021.
She certainly took the not feeling guilty thing as far as it could go. So congratulations, Manoner Camp. Once again, we are lowering the bar for parents everywhere. So you mentioned that you wanted to do more hiking. The number 4 resolution that more people submitted, was to spend more time outdoors. Little Charmer 80 said that she wanted to encourage her kids to ride their bikes more, which is funny because last year we got a couple of Zizzo bikes from Zizzo, those foldable bikes. I used mine the other day. I rode it for an errand. It was like really short ride, and I literally almost died because I've had actually no physical activity in like 9 months. I had to like stop at a certain point. I'm like, oh my God, I can't breathe. Like my thighs were burning. It was not a good time, but I'm excited.
You've literally like not moved much. And I'm
love
not much
the
better.
Bikes. Bikes are great.
Indent on my bed. But yes, MJ actually somewhat gifted me. He totally surprised me. Yep. It was like kind of a gift around our anniversary. It was like his and her bikes. Not that we were ever, I want
It's a tandem bike. It's a tandem bike. It's a tandem bike. We ride it together.
Stop. Oh my God.
I would rather. No chance.
What is this? But it is really cool. Then we went and got Munch a bike. And I really the thing is we got it like right before winter. And it's not like nice here in New York City. It's cold. It's been really wet. It's been like just wet and gross and cold.
So a lot of people did say they wanted to get their kids outdoors more. A lot of people are saying they're trying to spend 1,000 hours outdoor, which is a trend that I've seen. But our problem is that from January to, April, sometimes even May, if it's not a freezing cold winter wasteland, it's a slushy, gloomy, rainy wasteland,
Right.
very dreary. It's just, it's not easy to spend the next 4 months going outside a lot, although it certainly is something that, we try to encourage the kids to go outside. We have a tiny little square backyard to try to get them out in. It's not easy.
In summer and in spring, I think we use it a good amount, even if it's just for like outdoor eating or like having friends over. Like that was our only social distance outdoor oasis this summer with our like one friend in our little pod, friend family. And so that's nice to have. But, and we go to parks and stuff like that. But yeah, we're in a city. We're in like the biggest city in the country. Yeah. I mean, I like snow in the winter because I think it's beautiful and stuff, but snow in New York City is pretty for 12 hours or less, and then it is disgusting black sludge with like trash heaped outside because the trash can't come pick it up. It's not a winter wonderland.
So we'll take a rain check on the more outdoor stuff until the weather improves.
Until
but a lot
spring.
Of people,
but then hike it.
Because right. But obviously with the pandemic and the quarantine and all that stuff, people are feeling a little bit of stir crazy. So I understand wanting to go outside more. Another one, the number 3 one, which is something I think you very much agree with.
It's my number one every year.
Number 3 is to be more present. So Mandron, MANDR0N, says this. She's trying to enjoy more of the time she spends with her instead of just waiting for them to go to bed. So when Mom and Barry talks about being more present, she doesn't just mean we need to be more present with the kids. She means I need to be more present and not on my phone all the time and that kind of stuff. And you yourself feel the same way. You need to be a little bit more present because you get sucked into your phone as much as anybody else does, right?
Absolutely. The phone, especially in a time of pandemic where there are just endless hours and every day is 72 hours long. It's hard not to want to do that some. But then beyond that, I think be present. And a lot of women, I think, feel this way. I don't know, maybe some men too. But just even the mental presence of being there. A lot of times I'll be out playing with the kids and doing something I like. We'll be at a park or something, and my mind will start racing. Yeah. And maybe it's that anxiety-ridden mind,
mom brain,
or what, thinking about, oh my God, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? I mean, there are times when, you feel great and you're relaxed and you're really just enjoying it in the moment. But sometimes it's really hard to turn that off and be there and be special.
It is tough, especially with the concept of phases with kids where you're kind of I can't wait for this phase to end so it's going to get better. And then you end up just keep waiting for the next phase and it doesn't get better. It changes equally bad, equivalently bad for other reasons. But once you start thinking like that, I think you can very easily, things become a blur and you stop enjoying the good parts about those things.
I feel like I've had that a little less, just especially with kid number 2, because I know it's the last one, and I know that all the babies are going to suck in their own way. And it's just, you know me. I just want to stop time. Like the other day, the Hammer said the sweetest freaking thing, which was I'm going to
not yelling. Right on cue.
Which is when you are older, I want to make a potion to make you 43 forever and me 4 years old forever, so we can always be like this. You hear that I'm bawling, right?
Are you crying? There's no crying in podcasts.
I can't not. It was the sweetest thing.
It's terrifying, actually. I find it a little nightmarish.
I want that potion. I think
Kid's going to give you a potion?
Feel that way.
Slow your roll, Junior. You creep me out.
Oh, stop. Anyway.
It's called consent. It's called consent. Anyway.
Maybe I need to remember that to be more present, because he's clearly got it down, that kid.
Hand in hand with be more present is the number 2 resolution people submitted, which was less screen time. And by that, they mean less for their kids and less for themselves. Obviously, we've touched upon that a couple of times already. And I think it's just something that goes part and parcel with being stuck inside all the time and with just having technology at our fingertips, right? So we want our kids to be outside more and have less screen time. We want to be more present and be on our phones less when we're around our kids. But the reality of it is the phone's entertaining. You know, I'm having a good time with it. I'm having a good time streaming TV shows, lots of good stuff out there. Queen's Gambit, Industry, Ted Lasso, if you haven't watched it. Fucking king shit. I love it. My kids, we got the kids PlayStation, you know, they enjoy it. We all enjoy it. You know, I'm going to go back to the self-care one and have a little bit less guilt about it. How about that?
All right. Yeah. No, trust me. He has no problem with that one. And on the weekends, especially anytime before like 10 a.m., we're A-okay with screen time. And then when we need a break in the day, I like kind of having the evenings together, and I have to have at least one, preferably two, afternoons on the weekend together as a family. As Dad and Barry knows, yeah. I cannot wait for football season to end. You're going to do so much fucking family shit. It's going to be gross.
We got 6 games this weekend. We got 4 games next weekend. So we're not there yet.
Better get your fill, buddy. Better get your fill.
So CSCHEICH, I can't pronounce it, C. Scheich said one of their resolutions is definitely less screen time, but her kids are addicted, and I enjoy the quiet evening, she said. And that's the catch-22 of it. It is when your kid is on a video game or watching TV or something, it does get pretty quiet, and you can kind of do what you got to do in the other room.
I mean, right now, how do you think that we are doing this podcast?
And they aren't even being quiet. They're supposed to be being quiet.
You can probably hear them in the background. It's just Lord of the Flies downstairs, but we're like, that's okay. They're fine.
A mom of 3 _ says less screen time, and then she says, bah, ha, 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 just kidding, because for a lot of people, again, it falls under self-care, is letting the kids have some screen time.
Especially
so that you can
right now. And the reality is that they're in a world that they're going to be on screen. Like, yeah, maybe not YouTube all day or whatever. But, you know, as our 10-year-old, especially now that he does, like, remote school a lot and stuff, like, he'll just look at stuff on the internet. You know, not porn, but...
the problem, yeah.
But all of a sudden,
as far as we know.
You know, talking about stuff he's interested in, like, you know, oh, do you know the next, like, what's the book he's super into right now?
Wings of Desire. No, Wings of Desire.
No, not Wings of Desire. That's
Tropic of Cancer.
No, Wings of Fire. And he'll, like, talk about it, and him and his friends will, like, look up facts about it. And that's kind of a normal thing to do.
Yeah, but that's the problem is, like, he'll go to YouTube and he'll be like, he'll see some fake trailer somebody has made and completely buy it. And he'll be like, hey,
yeah, I know.
This is coming out next week and it's about this. I'm like, no, that's not real.
We better work on the gullibility before QAnon comes back.
Exactly. QAnon might be president by then, okay? All right. So, and the number one, by far, the number one, and I combine these two because I feel like they go hand in hand.
And obviously, your number one as well.
My number one as well. The number one parenting resolution people submitted was to yell less / to be more patient. And there were so many. I had a Post-it where I was tabulating, counting each one. And this was like, it tripled like every other resolution. And I honestly think if I separated them out and had less yelling and more patient, I think they would be 1 and 2 regardless. So I combined them all. And obviously, you know, when you're stuck in the house all the time with your kids and you can't go places, you have fewer breaks from their kids, they're not going to school, they're not seeing their friends as much. Everybody loses patience a little bit more probably than they should. But it's understandable. But it is definitely something. I mean, I was trying to yell less long before the pandemic. You know, we had an entire episode about that, I think. And it's just one of my things.
You got to bring back the rubber band, right?
The rubber band. Yeah, I wrote that blog post about trying to use a rubber band to remind myself that I'm a piece of shit and I need to stop yelling so much and stop being so much of a piece of shit.
I'll try to pick one of those. Yeah. I mean, I think that, as you know, I've definitely been the calmer of the two, not to say like I'm a saint or anything, but
you're not a saint.
So this year, like, I definitely have yelled more than I ever have. And I hate
that. Yeah, just
the
past couple of days, yeah. No offense.
I mean, yelling at the TV in the state of the world doesn't count, Michael.
Yelling at Trump does not count, yeah.
No, please pass on that one. But yelling at the kids. In fact, they're about to come in this room, and I am going to go nuts.
Oh, yeah, they need to yell less, judging by how loud they've been during this entire thing. They don't listen. Of course we yell. These kids don't listen.
Oh, so they might be in physical pain, so we should wrap it up.
Okay, we'll wrap it up in a minute, but I did want to mention Struy F. Jessica, Struyf. Jessica said that, she wants to find a way to discipline her kids without them taking it so personally, right? Constructive criticism. My 10-year-old doesn't understand that. I try to help with his homework, and it devolves into a yelling match because I try to tell him, hey, I know how to do fractions and common denominators, and he freaks out that I'm accusing him like he's doing something trash. No, you just don't know how to do it yet. So I agree with her that kids need to learn how to take criticism a little more. Even the 4-year-old, when he gets scolded, he'll hide his face because he's so ashamed. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You're 4. You're still learning.
They're literally like peering through the French doors.
We are going to. I can't wait. Once we get off this podcast, I'm going to yell so loud for so long because they were told not to interrupt our podcast. This is a social media empire. I am the king of all media.
Uh-oh. The kid who didn't eat dinner, I just found out.
We're about to enter trouble town. I'm going to need to use all of my patience to avoid this from happening.
I think the last comment is about how wonderful you are, so I'll let you take that one while I go get this kid.
Well, I do.
While you're talking about how wonderful you are, I'll go handle the children.
Thank you for joining us, Mom and Barry. So obviously this has devolved into a bit of a shit show because kids are awful, as we all know. Oh my God. I apologize to everybody if this is loud in your earphones. I want to thank you for listening. You can listen on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. Please like and subscribe. Mom and Barry's going to need all the help she can get. I did want to shout out at 2 Dads, 2 Kiddos, who left me one of my favorite compliments ever. He said, I find your intelligence combined with your overall disdain for everyone very appealing. I don't think my kids appreciate my disdain for them, but I appreciate that compliment. 2 Dads, 2 Kiddos. Appreciate it very much. Hope you guys will listen, subscribe, and like. Tell your friends about this, and you'll listen next week when my co-host Pete should be back. Stay strong. It's almost Inauguration Day. We appreciate you. Happy New Year. We'll catch you next time.
I don't know why you would still be watching This Isn't a Marvel movie, no matter how much I look like Paul Rudd, which you can deny it all you want. It's there in the eyes, I think. I'm young looking like him. If you enjoyed the podcast, which you obviously did or you wouldn't be listening still, sign up on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you want to listen to. Comment here on YouTube, subscribe, hit that like button. We want to hear from you. Comments, questions, dirty jokes, money, all the money you can give us. We'd love it all. Catch you next time.